I am 78 years old this past spring, and for 38 of those years there has been a path worn into the grass between my front porch and the road, because people walk to my door when their bodies trouble them, not for the things that need a real doctor. I send those folks straight to town, and I'll tell you the same before this is through. But for the small, quiet things the body forgets to ask for out loud, well, an old woman who has watched and listened her whole life learns a thing or two. And there is one thing about high blood sugar that I figured out by watching long before any man in a white coat ever said it to me. It is so plain, so ordinary, that most people walk right past it every single day of their lives. It is sitting in your kitchen right now. And by the time I am done talking to you today, you are going to wonder how on earth nobody told you sooner. Let me set the kettle on, so to speak, and tell you how it is out here first, so you understand the kind of looking I have done. We live plain. No wires run to our house. The lamps burn oil, and the stove burns wood that my sons split in the fall. I have buried 2 of my own and raised the rest, and I have caught more babies than I can count in the cold dark of a March morning with nothing but a kerosene lamp and my own 2 hands. When somebody in our church district takes sick, there is no calling on a telephone in the hallway. A neighbor hitches the buggy and comes for me, and I go. I have sat with the dying and I have sat with the newborn, and somewhere in the middle of all that sitting, you start to notice things. You notice which folks heal quick and which folks heal slow. You notice whose feet go numb and whose eyes go dim. You notice, after enough years, that the body is mostly trying to do right by us, and when it can't, it is usually because it has run plumb out of something it needed. Now, the sugar sickness, the diabetes. We are not strangers to it, even out here, even living the way we do, working from before light to after dark. It comes for our people too, and it comes harder than folks expect, because we are stubborn and we do not like to make a fuss, and we will work right through a thing that ought to send us to bed. I have watched good, strong men lose the feeling in their feet. I have watched a woman I have known 60 years go half blind because the sugar quietly chewed at the back of her eyes for years and nobody caught it. So when I tell you I take this serious, I mean it from the bottom of my old heart. Here is the first thing I need you to hear me say, and I am going to say it more than once, because I have lived long enough to know that people only hear the part they want to. I am not a doctor. I do not have one bit of schooling in this. If you have the sugar sickness, you go and you see your doctor, and you take the medicine he gives you, and you do not stop taking it because some Amish grandmother on the internet told you a story about cheese. The things I am going to tell you about are helpers. They are not replacers. They walk alongside good medical care. They do not push it out the door. A wise body uses both. A foolish one throws away the rope because it found a stick. You understand me? Good. Now we can talk. The first of the 3 plain things is something most of you have never heard a single word about, and that is a crying shame, because it has been on our supper table for as long as there have been Amish supper tables. It is called vitamin K2, not the K that helps your blood clot, the one your doctor watches if you take blood thinners. This is its cousin, K2, and it has a different kind of work to do. Here is the way it was explained to me, and the way I have come to understand it from my own watching. Your body is full of calcium. Calcium is a good and necessary thing. It builds your bones strong. But calcium is like a young man with too much energy and nowhere to put it. If nobody tells it where to go, it goes where it pleases, and where it pleases is all the wrong places. It settles into the walls of your arteries and makes them stiff and hard, like an old leather harness left out in the weather. It settles in places it has no business being. And vitamin K2, well, K2 is the firm old farmer who takes that wild calcium by the collar and marches it to where it belongs, into the bone, out of the soft places. That alone is reason enough to care about it. But here is the part that pricked up my ears when I first heard tell of it. The folks who study these things, the researchers, have been turning up signs that this same vitamin has a hand in how the body manages its sugar. Now I want to be honest with you, plain honest, the way my mother raised me. This is not all settled and signed and sealed. The studies are still young, and a careful person says, it looks like, and it may, not it surely does, but what it looks like is this. K2 seems to help wake up a little messenger in the body that has to do with insulin, the very thing that handles your sugar. And in some of the studies, the folks who got more of it seem to have an easier time with their blood sugar than the folks who went without. Not a miracle, not a cure, but a help, a nudge in the right direction from a humble little vitamin nobody talks about. And do you know where it comes from? This is the part that makes me smile, because it is exactly the food my grandmother set in front of me 90 years before anybody had a fancy name for it. It comes from fermented things, the old foods. We make sauerkraut every fall, crocks and crocks of it, cabbage from the garden pressed down with salt and left to do its slow work in the cool of the cellar. Old foods like that, foods that have been allowed to change and ripen the way the good Lord intended, carry this vitamin. It comes from good aged cheese. The hard cheeses, the kind that have sat and cured and grown a rind, those carry more of it than the soft, fresh kinds. It comes from the yolks of eggs, and here is a thing worth knowing. The egg from a hen that runs loose in the yard and eats bugs and grass and scratches in the dirt. That egg carries far more of this vitamin than the pale, sad egg from a hen kept shut up in a box her whole life, eating nothing but mash. Our hens run where they please. You can see it in the yolk. Ours come out the color of a marigold, deep orange, not that washed out yellow you see in the store. That color is telling you something. It comes from butter, real butter, churned from the cream of cows that graze on green grass. And it comes from liver, which I know, half of you just wrinkled your nose. But my mother fed us liver and onions once a week, and there was a reason the old people did that, even if they could not have told you the chemistry of it. They just knew it made you strong. So before you go running to a store to buy anything in a bottle, I want you to look at your own table first. Put a little of these old foods back. The kraut, the aged cheese, the good eggs, the butter your great-grandmother would recognize. There is no danger in food and a great deal of wisdom in it. Now, if a body wants more than the table can give, there are little capsules of it sold these days, and there is no shame in that. The world has changed, and not everybody has a cellar full of crocks. But here is where I must take you by the arm and look you in the eye. If you are taking a blood thinner, one of those medicines that keeps your blood from clotting, you absolutely must, talk to your doctor before you add any kind of vitamin K to your day, the K2 included. It can tangle with that medicine. This is not a small matter. This is the kind of thing where you do not guess and you do not go it alone. You ask the doctor. Every time, no exceptions. Have I made myself plain on that? I hope so, because I would not forgive myself otherwise. That is the first plain thing. Let it settle a moment, and we will go on to the second. The second thing is harder to put in a tidy basket, because part of it grows in the ground and part of it was made in a laboratory, and I am going to be straight with you about both. It begins with a vitamin called thiamine. Some folks call it B1. It is one of those vitamins the body cannot store up much of. You have to keep feeding it in, day after day, like keeping a fire fed. And here is the trouble. When a body carries high sugar for a long time, it seems to burn through this thiamine faster than other folks do, and it loses more of it out through the water than it ought to. So a person with the sugar sickness can be running low on this vitamin and never know it, and that low-down feeling, that bone-tired weariness, that pins and needles tingling that starts up in the feet at night and steals your sleep, some of that may be the body crying out for thiamine and nobody listening. I have seen those tired ones. I have seen the man who could split a cord of wood at 30 and at 60 could barely climb his own stairs, and everybody said, well, he's just getting old. Maybe. Or maybe his body was hungry for something simple. The food for it is everyday food, nothing fancy. Beans, the dried ones we put up by the bushel, black beans and navy beans and the speckled ones, lentils, pork, which the good Lord knows is on an Amish table often enough. We raise our own hogs and use every last bit. Sunflower seeds, and we grow those tall, nodding giants along the garden fence, and the children eat them by the handful. Whole grains, the real kind, not the white flour stripped of everything good, but the brown rice and the whole wheat my daughters grind for bread. These foods carry thiamine, and a person who eats plain and eats whole is already doing better than they know. Now here is the laboratory part, and I will not pretend it is something it isn't. There is a stronger cousin of thiamine that the chemists made, and they call it benphotiamine. It is a hard word. I had to say it slow myself the first dozen times. What makes it different is that ordinary thiamine likes water and this made one likes fat, and because of that it slips into the body's nooks and crannies more easily and stays around to do more work. The folks studying nerve trouble and diabetes have taken an interest in it, and some of what they have found is hopeful, especially for those poor, aching, burning, numb feet that the sugar sickness brings on. But I am an old woman who fed her family from a garden, and I will tell you my honest mind. This benphotiamine is not something you will pull from your soil or set on your table. It comes in a bottle made by men in a faraway place. I am not against it. I have heard good reports from people whose nerves were tormenting them. But it is exactly the kind of thing you bring to your doctor and say, "What do you make of this? Is it right for me with the other medicines I take?" Because your doctor knows what else is swimming around in your body, and an old woman on the internet does not. Some medicines do not like to share a body with other things, and only someone who knows your whole picture can say. So eat your beans and your good pork and your sunflower seeds without a worry in the world, and if you want to go further than that, you go further with a doctor walking beside you. That is the only way I will tell it to you. So that is two. The old fermented foods and good eggs for the one, the beans and whole grains and an honest talk with your doctor for the other. And now we come to the third, which is in some ways the dearest to me, because it costs nothing at all and falls down out of the sky. The third plain thing is what they call vitamin D, the kind that comes from the sun. Cholecalciferol is the proper name for it, another mouthful, but you and I can just call it the sunshine vitamin and be done with it. Now you would surely think, that a people like mine, out in the fields from dawn, would have all the sunshine vitamin we could ever want, and in the long days of summer, perhaps we do, but I have lived through 77 winters in this northern country, and let me tell you about the winter. The sun hangs low and weak and pale as skim milk, and it hides behind gray clouds for weeks at a stretch, and even a man out feeding stock at first light is bundled to his eyeballs with not an inch of skin showing. The body cannot make the sunshine vitamin from a sun that weak through clothes that thick. So, even out here, even among the hardest working people I know, come February there is a kind of low gray heaviness that settles over folks, in the body and in the spirit both. I have felt it in my own bones. The ache that has no name, the weariness that sleep won't cure, the sad turn of mind in the dark months. And the researchers, bless their patient hearts, have been finding that this same sunshine vitamin has a hand in the sugar business too. It seems to help the body's sugar handling work along, and the folks who run low on it seem to have a harder row to hoe with their blood sugar than the folks who keep their levels up. Again, I say seems because I am an honest woman and the matter is still being studied. But there is enough to it that I would not want any of you, especially you with the sugar sickness, to go through a long dark winter running on empty. Where does it come from besides the sky? From fish, the fatty ones, salmon and mackerel and the little sardines, though I'll grant you those are not common on every plain table. From the yolks of those good eggs again. That humble egg keeps earning its keep. From milk, and from the sun on your skin, which in the warm months means simply this: get out in it. A little while in the midday sun, on your arms and your face, without burning, the body drinks that in and makes its own medicine for free. The Lord built us to live under the sky, and there is healing in it. But the winter is the rub, and that is when many a person, plain or fancy, runs short. So this is one where, more than the others, folks do well to take a little something in the cold months. The little drops or capsules of the sunshine vitamin are sold everywhere and they are not dear. But, and you knew a but was coming, didn't you? I can almost hear you. There is such a thing as too much of even a good thing. This is one of those vitamins that the body holds on to, and if a person gulps down great heaping doses for months on end, it can pile up and cause real trouble, sickness to the stomach, trouble in the kidneys, the calcium getting stirred up the wrong way. So this is the third time I am going to tell you the very same thing, and I make no apology for it. Ask your doctor. A simple little test of your blood can tell him exactly how much of the sunshine vitamin you are carrying, and from that he can tell you exactly how much you ought to take. No guessing. That is the right way. That is the only way I will put my name to. Now then, 3 plain things. Vitamin K2, hiding in the old fermented foods and the good-aged cheese and the marigold yolks of free-ranging hens. Thiamine, the everyday vitamin in your beans and your pork and your whole grains, with its stronger laboratory cousin for those who take it up with a doctor. And the sunshine vitamin, falling free from heaven in summer and wanting a little help in the long gray winter. Not one of them is a miracle. Not one of them will cure the sugar sickness or let you throw your medicine in the creek. I have buried too many people to ever stand here and tell you a foolish thing like that. What they are is helpers. Quiet, humble, ordinary helpers that a body needs and that the world somehow forgot to mention. I think about why nobody talks about these things, and I will not pretend to know the answer, and I will not stand here and spin you a tale about who is hiding what. I am too old for that kind of nonsense, and you are too smart to fall for it. I think the truth is plainer and sadder than any conspiracy. I think we have simply forgotten how to eat. We have traded the kraut crock for the canned soup and the marigold yolk for the pale store egg and the noonday sun for 4 walls and a screen. And the body, the faithful, hard-working body, just keeps trying to do right by us on less and less of what it actually needs. Maybe the answer was never anything fancy. Maybe it was sitting in the cellar and the hen house and the sky the whole time and we just stopped looking. So here is what an old woman would have you do, and then I will let you go, for I have beans to put up and a grandbaby coming who will want her supper. Go and see your doctor. Keep seeing him. Take your medicine. Do not be foolish. And alongside all of that, put the old foods back on your table. Eat the kraut and the aged cheese and the good eggs from a hen that has seen daylight. Eat your beans and your honest whole grains. Get out in the summer sun while it is kind, and mind the sunshine vitamin in the winter when it is not, and anything beyond plain food that you mean to put in your body, you carry it first to the doctor and you ask. Every time, no exceptions. I have said it 3 times and I would say it 30 if it would stick. I am only an old Amish woman with worn-out hands and a worn-out path to my door. I have no schooling and no fancy letters after my name, but I have watched the human body for the better part of a century, watched it suffer and watched it heal, and the longest lesson it ever taught me is this: the body does not ask for much. It asks for honest food and honest sunlight and honest rest and someone wise to help it when it cannot help itself. Give it those, and you may be surprised how much quiet good comes of it. If anything an old woman said today was a comfort to you, or made you think of someone you love who carries this sickness, then carry it on to them. Sit with them. Speak plain to them, the way I have spoken plain to you. That is the way it has always been done out here, one neighbor to the next, and I see no reason to do it any other way now. Come back and visit again, if you have a mind to. The kettle is always on, and may the good Lord keep you and yours in good health, and grant you the wisdom to know the difference between a helper and a cure. Take care of yourselves now. Take care of each other. Goodbye.